welcome back. Episode 2 of the Real Rugby Show. We are, as always, a little bit delayed because certain people went on holiday for a week. Matthew Rhodes, welcome back to the channel.
Thanks, Mace. First anniversary, going to Croatia. Sorry that I couldn't be here for our second follow-up so quickly, but
That's okay.
We're here now.
And priorities, I'd like to say that your priorities are in order.
Yes, my wife is upstairs now. If she hears any differently, we might be lynched.
How was Split? Had fun?
Yeah, it was good. We stayed in a place called Tregear, which is the old town of Split, and highly recommend it. It's Croatia is beautiful. People were great. It's very clean. Yeah, it was tremendous.
You didn't watch any local rugby when you were there, like Split versus Zagreb
I tried
first division.
I tried to get a game in, but we hired a car, and driving on the wrong side of the road was difficult enough. So getting to and from a game, I might not have made it back. So yeah, I missed that. But no, it's a great destination, and I recommend anyone to go to Croatia if they can.
Right. Well, it's good to have you back. We're going to do a bit of a wrap up on the Rugby Championship.
Yeah.
We're going to do what every single other podcast has done and pick the team of the championship, like a combined team. We'll give our own take, and then there's a couple of other points. We're talking about the end of year tour, and yeah, let's just get into it. So
on that particular point, I'd just like to make a comment. We in our first YouTube video, we said that we wouldn't want to switch out any of the players in the South African team for any other individual, and that got a bit of heat. That had some of our international mates from across the pond giving their 5 cents as to who they think would rather be better fits rather than our 1 to 15. Just want to say, as South African rugby supporters, what we were saying there on the day was that we wouldn't want to switch out anyone on that day, and also we were happy with a complete team as it is. There are other players that are out there that would, mention and feature, but as Boca supporters, we were happy with the selection for that day.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously the result was the one it vindicated what we said. The complete performance by the Boks. Yep. No one picked that scoreline. You went 15. You went 12. I went 15. But I did say, I watched the video again. I did say we'll smash them. And we did smash them.
Which we did.
Which was a beautiful thing.
I think a special mention needs to be made of Argentina. And we'll come to a couple of the players, I'm sure, today.
Yeah.
Because they've got a few standouts that deserve to be in the best of the rest type of selection. But Argentina throughout the tournament played well. They deserve their chance to be going for the win, to win the championship. But the class of the Springboks proved unrelenting on the day, and as you said, we smashed them. So
absolutely, we did a bit of a tribute over the weekend to the Springboks. We used one of Prime Circle's songs to do a bit of a tribute to the Boca. We'll feature it at the end of this video as well. It was just a beautiful way to end the Rugby Championship. I looked at the stats. We scored the most points. We scored the most tries. We gave away the least amount of points. We gave away the least amount of tries. So well deserved, and
well deserved. And I just want to make another point. We, after the game, did a quick live video on our YouTube, which unfortunately I don't think features because there was something wrong with the audio at the time. But what we said at the time was to commend the Springboks and also to Eben Etzebeth on his 128, and we suggested that he is the standout individual. He deserves all the accolades he can get, and that he is getting. And we raised the glass to him on the day, but clearly it didn't go out, and so we have to take this opportunity to say it again.
Cheers, Eben.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. 128, well deserved. Eben, you're a legend. As we said last time, you're going to hit 150.
Without
I think
a doubt.
Then we'll properly celebrate.
Proper.
And it's amazing to think he got 128 caps, but we played no test rugby in 2020.
Yeah.
So he missed the whole season where we could have played another 12, 13 tests. So just amazing.
Fantastic tribute as well on the day by Sia.
Beautiful.
And other accolades coming through from other great legends of the game. Tipping the hat to Eben. And we said as much on the day as well, but he deserves everything coming his way and what's been said about him since. And we raised a glass to him then and to the Boca.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into it. Team of the tournament, combined team from the four nations. I have to say, it was really difficult finding an Aussie to get into that team. So they're not featuring really, but we'll talk about a couple of players. Let's kick off with fullback. The guys that I had was Apalele Fassi, Will Jordan, Tom Wright from Australia, and Bowden Barrett.
Yeah.
That was sort of my shortlist. Out of those four, personally, I'd pick Will Jordan.
I think Apalele Fassi to be included in that group of names is, a testament to the play that he had throughout the tournament. He's really stepped up, and it shows his class. Those other three names are world class in their own right.
Yeah,
and I think of all of them, the person who's the most dangerous and dynamic with ball in hand is Will Jordan.
Okay. I think so.
Yeah.
Counter-attacking genius. I mean, just his try-scoring record. It's something ridiculous, like 35 tries in 37 tests. It's just, he's on another level. So again, your All Black mates will be happy to know that the first name down in our combined team is an All Black. Just, I think a noteworthy mention here is Tom Wright.
Yeah.
I said to you the other day, the only two things that are right in the Aussie team is Fraser Mack and Tom.
Yeah.
Those are the two only right things, because they're both fantastic players. And I think Tom Wright is going to be
very much
hell of a player.
Very much the same. All three of those individuals, Bowden, obviously, as well. When they have ball in hand, they are exciting. They play running rugby. They're really good with ball in hand, but also their kicking game is fantastic. And they're always looking to make a change, make a positive impact. They're looking for the gaps and how to exploit the opposition, and to hit people on the counter-attack. I think all three of those. So of all of them, you'd be happy with any one of those in the team. But I think Will Jordan was just the standout character in this particular tournament.
Yeah, agreed. Right wing, is it even a discussion? Cheslin, anyone else where it's worth a mention? I don't think anyone is in the same stratosphere as Cheslin Colby. It might be worth mentioning their names.
Yeah.
No one features on the same playing field as Cheslin Colby.
Again, coming back to the point of what we said about Will, when he's got the ball in hand, no matter who you are, South African supporter or otherwise, you're looking with like gleeful excitement at what's about to happen, because he can turn nothing into something extraordinary. And so, whenever he's got the ball, and another testament to this is the way that the Australian commentators, a lot of the time, Aussie commentators can be a little bit sort of one-sided. But the way that they speak about Cheslin, the way that they laud, the kind of support about how great he is testament to the fact that everyone can see it, regardless of where your allegiances lie. So, like you say, is there anyone in his stratosphere? I don't think so.
Okay. Are you saying pow?
Did you see Justin Marshall and Jeremy Paul talk about Cheslin Colby?
Unbelievable.
Mate, they fell in love. I thought they both had semis when they spoke about it.
A little chubby.
Yeah, a little chubby, because they just waxed lyrical. But absolutely, what a player.
I think, you cannot but not get excited every time he gets the ball.
Touches the ball.
Yeah, he's onto it, and he is just dynamic in everything that he does. So fair play. He holds that spot without anyone else challenging him for it.
I think so. While left wing is a bit more debatable.
Correct.
We've got Clark from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Caleb Clark, Kurtley Arendse, and then your guy Carreras.
Yes. So you say my guy.
You rate him.
I do. Every time he's got the ball in hand, he's like a torpedo. He's low in the water. His center of gravity is amazing. He's strong in both defense and attack. And like Will Jordan, like the other people that we've discussed so far, every time he's got the ball in hand, he's looking to do something amazing with it. So really good in offense, really good in defense. He's quick, and he's a little pocket rocket. So I really like him. But I think if I was to choose between him and Caleb Clark, my friend Clarkie in New Zealand will be happy to hear me say this, because he was very unhappy that we weren't being as what's the word, encouraging about certain players in the All Blacks. The last time we did the podcast, I think Caleb Clark is the standout character in that group for me.
I agree. 6 tries in 6 games. He's an awesome finisher, dynamic, powerful runner.
Yeah.
Those 2 tries he scored against the Boks at Ellis Park were just awesome. That put the All Blacks on the front foot. He does give away the odd yellow card but so does Kurtley Arendse, and Carreras gave away a yellow card on Saturday against the Springboks. So all in all, if I've got to pick between those three, I'd also go for Clark. I second that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so we have Cheslin Colby and Caleb Clark on the wings.
Yep.
In the midfield, who'd you pick?
It's difficult. I think, again, Jesse has been standout for me. I think you'd play in any other team. So we're going 12-13.
Yeah.
And his playing partner with Dialander, again, is just, the two of them are a dynamic duo. They remind me a lot of Walter Little and Frank Bunce from 1995. One's got more physicality, one has got a little bit more pace and dynamism, but together they're an outstanding duo. So I think they stand out for me, but it's hard because the two centers playing for New Zealand are also, Geordie Barrett is sensational.
He is.
Rico Ioane, sensational. But I don't think they've played as well together
as a unit
as Jesse and Dialander.
No, I totally agree. And I went with Jesse and Damien. Best centre pairing in the competition by far. As individuals, Geordie's great. Rico Ioane's great. They didn't gel. And I've got a sneaking suspicion it's because they just didn't deviate from Mackenzie at 10. It's like he couldn't, he's flashy and he tries stuff, but he doesn't really dictate that backline as well as a Beauden Barrett will. And I think it was at the detriment of those two centres, who we know they're good players.
Their best fly half played fullback and their best fullback played five.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the problem. That's John Hart, 99, all over again when they played Umaga on the wing, Cullen at centre, and Jeff Wilson at fullback. It's like, just what are you smoking, mate?
Yeah.
A special shout out to Chocobares and Sinti, who I think, as a combo, they're awesome. Yeah. I love the RGs. I love their brand of play. Sinti specifically, I'm going to mention some tries that we saw during the tournament, but that one he scored against the All Blacks in Wellington was a thing of beauty. And that's him linking up with Chocobares, who put him into space. So they get me really excited, but I don't think they were quite as good as Damien and JC.
Yeah, I think, again, exciting with ball in hand, running hard, creating space on the outside. A lot of it was just simple rugby, but being exploited really, really well. And I think 12 for Argentina, again, the name escapes me.
Chocobares.
So Chocobares, for me, was really exciting, and he runs so hard. Yeah, which is what you want with your 12, making some space on the outside. So unfortunately, got injured in the last game. Yeah, and I wanted to see him in the final play throughout, and he didn't. But he's an exciting player.
Exciting player.
Again, I still don't think he would be my choice over Jesse. Or Dialander.
And I don't think Damien ever gets the credit he deserves. Like, everyone raves about Jesse and how he's now the number one choice ahead of Lucanio. But Damien Dialander is just one of those players that week in, week out, he does what is expected of him quietly. You know, you never hear him speak after the game or do any interviews, or there's never like real focus on him. It's always on Cheslin and Sasha and these flashy players, but bloody hell, what a player.
Mate, the amount of times he breaks the line, which then creates the space outside for those players you just mentioned to go and dot down. I mean, he's really difficult to bring down at the best of times, and he breaks that line and gives us that advantage.
And he's evolving his game, and we saw that with Nonu years ago, where he was like a crash ball player, and then he went away and he came back and he added some kicking and a distribution game, and he became the best 12 ever. We're seeing that now with Damien, like the little touches. He's now the link man where Marnie does the run around. Damien pops the ball to him. He puts Fussy into space, scores under the post. Like he brings another dimension to our attacking play where historically people would have thought, oh, he's just going to take it into contact. He's going to carry well, make his meters, but he's like a loose forward. That's not the case anymore. He's got a brilliant passing game, and very excited to see where they're going to go with that team.
Yeah, nice. I like those two as our pick.
Fly-off, again, was interesting because the Springboks started with 4 fly-offs. the All Blacks, sorry about to say this in front of your mates in New Zealand, but Damien McKenzie is not a fly-half.
He's a fullback.
I'm sorry, he's a fullback, and he makes more impact if he comes off the bench. So I didn't really put him in the running. I had Sasha Feinberg Mngomezulu, Albaros from Argentina, who played really well in the victory against the Springboks, and then Andre Pollard, who's just Mr. Consistent. Out of those three, I know which one I'd pick. Who stands out?
It's a tough one for me because I think, again, exciting to see Sasha with ball in hand. He can kick, he can put people into space. He's got the running game. He's dynamic in defense. Like he's like the all-round player. And so, he probably is the standout for this particular tournament. He's the standout 10 to come through where everyone's now taken notice. But I think for me, I'm always going to have a soft spot for Polly.
Of course.
Because, again, he's Mr. Reliable. If he's on the field, my heart is content. And I've got a lot more confidence that he can grind out the games and see the games out, and we have confidence in his kicking ability all around. That being said, Sasha kicked amazingly from all over the field. And so I think it's a tough one for me. Sasha, because he's exciting and dynamic, but Polly, because he's just, what you're going to get every single time. And not taking anything away, he's strong in defense, strong in offense. He puts people into space. He reads the game so beautifully well. So I think for me, Polly stands up.
I had Sasha.
I know. So,
but again, you don't have to convince me about Pollard. He's Mr. Consistent. I know he gets a lot of flack outside of South Africa. People see him as, he can only kick, he can only win games. But that's sort of what you want in your fly. I mean, that's why we criticized Marnie after the Argentina loss, because yes, he didn't lose us the game,
but he didn't win it for us.
But he also didn't win it for us.
Yeah.
And Pollard would have won us the game, and that's the difference. That's what makes him world class. So
I think if you've got dynamic backs, which all sort of international teams have, but if you've got exciting running backs and you as the fly half can see you have the vision to see the space and to put the ball into the areas where they need to be running on so that they can exploit that. A lot of the time, I think tries are seen as, being put down or created by the person putting the ball down, whereas it's the fly half often at times who've seen that gap 3 or 4 steps ahead of people. Mertens, as a great example, people used to say that Mertens was more of a kicking fly half and the like, but he had dynamic backs outside of him.
Yeah.
And as long as he could put the ball into the right space with them running onto it, they were putting tries in left, right, and center. So I think that's the thing with Polly as well. He's not given maybe the accolades that he deserves in the attacking phases of the game, but only because he just makes it look so effortless. So he's putting the ball in the right spaces, people running onto it, and we're scoring tries.
Okay, so that's fly off. We both agreed Andre Pollard. Scrum off.
Did we agree on Andre Pollard? I don't know.
I'm happy.
I know that you're backing Andre, but I think it's hard to look past Sasha as well because he was just so exciting.
But I think that's the thing with Sasha is he got everybody excited. I looked at his highlights again, his line breaks, his offloads. There was that one little run and offload to Mapimpi who scored against Portugal. It's like, when last did we see a fly-off do that? And again, taking nothing away from Polly, Sasha just gets me excited. But maybe, Rassi mentioned that he played with a slight injury. I'm just thinking, how good would he have been if he was 100% fit, now that we know he wasn't? But, for me, it's both of these guys will go to the World Cup in 2027, given that they're fit.
If they stay fit, yeah.
Pollard's role might be a little bit different, and they might start with Sasha. But if we have either, I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
And the reality is, and I'm sorry to say it, but if they pick Marnie, he played fantastically well against Argentina. But I think they could have picked Ollie Leroux at fly-off, and we would have, had a great game.
Shout out to Ollie.
Shout out to Ollie, dummy against Scotland in '99. That's what I was thinking about. But anyone would have played well behind that pack. Somebody asked, me the other day, did Marnie redeem himself? I said, no, because he didn't win us a game by kicking a penalty in the 80th minute. That's the issue. The issue is not his general play. We know he can play. So yeah, I'm just always comfortable with Sasha and Pollard on the field, but let's go with Polly. I'm happy.
Cool.
Okay.
Scrum half was a little bit more tricky because again, we started I think with 4 or 5 scrum halves.
Right.
The Argentinians played with 2. New Zealand started with Perenara. They played with Ratima. The Aussies, I mean, Nick White doesn't even really come into the conversation just because we're not fans. But
and he got dropped for the last game.
And he got dropped for the last game because he's like Perenara. They just whinge at the ref the whole time. So who stands out for you?
That's a tough one. I mean, I thought in the tournament Kubas played really, really well.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that a couple of times so far in our previous podcast YouTube video. So he played exceptionally well. I think our depth, everyone who came on played well. I thought Ratima played really well too. So when he came onto the field, again, he was really exciting. And New Zealand are well known for their sort of depth of nines in years gone by. So I thought it's a tough one. Who do you have on your paper?
I liked Ratima. I think whenever he came on or wherever he played, they looked very, very solid. And they had his distribution is quite nippy. He's quite nippy around the fringes as well.
He had them in the ascendancy.
But he's very composed.
Yeah.
Like where TJ loses his mind and screams at the ref and gives away penalties, like Cortez Ratima is like the opposite. He's very calm, very composed. I almost see him, if I have to compare him to somebody great, he's very similar to Fourie Pre, like very calm. Maybe not at that level, but I quite liked him. But I actually picked Bertranu from Argentina.
Okay.
Just because he played 5 out of 6 games. He was Mr. Steady behind the pack, behind a very good Argentinian pack. And he was often the first guy to get that back line away. But for me, it's a toss-up between the two. I wouldn't go for a Springbok scrum off, oddly enough, because no one stood out. I think if we take the other teams, Bertranu stood out from an Argentinian point of view, Ratima from an All Black point of view, but it's a flip of the coin.
So in that instance, then, would you have either one of those players to play in the Springbok team? Given the depth that we had at that particular position, right? Who do they then push out? If we're going to choose them as the standout character across all teams,
I wouldn't say yes, but I'll explain why. Because I don't think we've decided who our best number 9 is. Faf is injured.
Okay.
Grant Williams got injured. I think if Williams had more time to play,
he would have been standout.
He would have been the standout, in my opinion. Yeah. So Reinach was okay. He was steady. Didn't do anything flashy. Didn't do anything horribly wrong. Morné van den Berg just got that one chance against Australia. It was rainy. He couldn't play his game, which didn't count for him. So no, I wouldn't necessarily pick these guys ahead of anyone in the Springbok side, but I think that's more got to do with our selection policy.
Hendrickson
was good, but again, he only played 1.5 games.
Yeah, but does that mean that
the other guys played the whole tournament pretty much?
Sure, doesn't mean that they were the best or standout. As a consequence of that, it just means that those two teams don't have as much depth as the South African team does.
That's true.
So
that's true.
I think the argument here is their number 1s versus our number 2, 3s, or 4s. Who would you want to switch out? It's a tough call. So I think again, this is testament to the amount of depth we have. That if you're in Rassi's shoes, you're happy because someone gets injured, whether it be Faf or Grant, there's someone as good. And you mentioned this in the last conversation that we had, where our depth is just sensational. And Faf hasn't dropped his level of competence. Everyone else has increased theirs to come in parity with him. So we've got a great selection at that level. And I don't know if I'd be wanting to switch out. But you've gone with an Argentinian character. I'll leave that in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 8, a couple of guys. Harry Wilson, I think, is making a name for himself as Australian captain. I wasn't overly impressed with him, but he's this big, strong, physical ball carrier. He reminds me a lot of David Lyons, who used to play back in the day. Very, very good ball carrier. But for me, it really came down to 2 guys. It was Jasper and Adi.
Yeah.
I think those are the 2 that's in the conversation of the best number 8s.
Correct. And on that point you make, I think your man there led Australia really well. and tried to be the standout character that he needed his boys to follow him into battle, and he tried to do that often. He carried the ball really, really well. So, he played well through the tournament, but he doesn't compare when you've got Artie and you've got Jasper. Now, we were talking off air about this earlier, and would we, based on our conversation last week, would we switch out Artie Sevilla and Jasper Wiese? And I think we both agreed, based on the fact that we like the Springboks as they are, we'd still go with Jasper, but Artie is phenomenal.
World Player of the Year 2023, which he deserved. I'll be the first to admit, even in a year that the Boks won the World Cup. He's just dynamic, strong ball carrier, and his work at the ruck.
He's got an
amount of turnovers he wins. That's the one thing we spoke about turnovers last time. I think Artie brings that. So
I'd like him in the Springbok team for that.
Yeah.
For maybe Jasper, in terms of size dominance, from a pack perspective, I'd go with Jasper in that sense. Also, with ball in hand, he runs in and runs in hard. But give the ball to Artie, and again, you're like, this is going to be exciting. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Where there's a difference, I think, is at the breakdown. The amount of turnovers, like you said, is phenomenal. He gives you so much of that ball where the team are coming onto you. They're in the ascendancy, and you manage to switch it up by taking the ball away from them, and then they're on the back foot and you counter. So that counter attack, I think, is really important, and he gives that to you. But he's just the engine on him. He just goes and he goes and he goes.
He's the standout player in that All Black side. So happy. Artie at 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
7, Peter Steff. Do we even have to talk about it? Is there any competition? There is no competition. Like Colby, he is on another level.
Those two for me are the standout. And I said this, I think I referred to them both as king last time, but it'll be difficult to see another World Player of the Year, I think, outside of those two.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to the nominations and who we think will be nominated. We both agree on Peter Steff.
Peter Steff is just, again, how many man of the match performances?
I think it's like 6 out of 8 or something ridiculous. Like almost every game he plays, he's man of the match.
Yeah. And again, it's that engine on him. He just goes and goes and goes.
He's unreal. As good as he was in 2019, he's peaking now.
Yeah.
He's at the peak of his powers now. And
long may that continue.
Long may that continue.
And you know what? Either whether it's at flank or whether it's at lock, he's phenomenal. So it's almost as if you never want to take him off the field, because if he's on the field, you're happy.
We're speechless. We're speechless. There's nothing else to say. We're not even discussing other players. It's a no-brainer. It's Peter Steff.
Okay.
6 was an interesting one. I wrote down Sia because just our captain. I love the man to bits. He's like the greatest Springbok captain of all time. And he's an amazing player. He doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He makes his tackles. He's strong when carrying the ball. He does the little offloads. He's now a link man in the middle, in the midfield. I love Sia, but the other guy that I mentioned was Pablo Matera, who had just a fantastic season. He was big in Wellington when they beat the All Blacks. He was big in Santiago when they beat us. Gave away a yellow card after being on the field for 10 seconds in Mbombela. But apart from that, he was great. But the guy that I picked is Wallace Satiti at 6.
So I think those 3 players, Sia is maybe not as exciting as Matera. So when Pablo Matera's got the ball in hand, he can do some amazing things. That try he scored on the wing, just beautiful.
Power.
And he also has that Argentinian passion. He was captain for a while, and he lives and breathes it, and you can see it on the field. But I think that's also part of his downfall, because he lets his head get away from him.
Yeah.
And if you put him and Sia up against each other, I'd go with Sia every time. Not only can Sia stand up from a physicality perspective, but you just know that Sia's going to have the cool head on him throughout the entire game. He's going to be that captain that they follow from 1 to 80 and plus. And he can give you all that kind of dynamism that you just described, whether it's up front or being that link man. So I think Sia for me, but Satiti is, again,
the find of the season, man.
Mate, he comes from outstanding rugby stock. His dad was captain of Western Samoa, I think. And it just, he plays with, again, such dynamism where he's so strong up front, but his footwork and his ball skills are unbelievable. And again, he's exciting. Every time he gets the ball, he's making things happen. He's got the offload after breaking through tackles. He's got the physicality of someone like Ardi Sevilla, but he's got the ball skills of someone like Sonny Bill Williams.
Yeah.
So, him with ball in hand, he's dangerous.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that at the beginning of the Rugby Champs, he was playing NPC in New Zealand, and then he finished as the number one choice. But I'm happy with that. He deserves his spot. He's been awesome since coming on the scene.
Okay.
Right, so we've got Wallace at 6. 5, again, an interesting one. A lot of guys would say Tupu Vai. I went with Ruan Orkia, purely because...
Again, you love him. You do.
I love him, not because he plays for the Bulls, but he's one of those guys that the engine on him, again, he just never lets you down, makes all his tackles. He won the most lineouts, which is something we struggled with. Our set piece, specifically at lineout time, wasn't that great at times. During the Rugby Champs, he won 32 lineouts, the most in the competition. And he's like 6th in line. Franco's injured, Archie was injured. There's a whole list of players injured, and he had to fill a void. And man, he was awesome.
He did that and then
awesome.
some. He was awesome. We watched him in the final. You and I were commenting on him. He is so good at the stuff that you don't pay attention to.
Yeah.
The dark arts of being in the scrum, the lineouts, the mauls, the breakdowns. He was there, and every single one, like grinding it out. And I think that's one of the things about him is that he's undersung, but because he's not doing any of the flashy stuff, he's doing all the stuff that we, as I said, we don't always pay attention to, but he's doing it outstandingly well.
So you're happy with Ruan?
I'm happy with Ruan. And cool. Again, another one like Hodgson Satisi, where maybe at the beginning of the tournament we wouldn't have picked him, but he's deserving of his place in this particular list. So yeah. Happy with that.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
4, again, you might say maybe a Scott Barrett, but when you bring Eben into the conversation, then suddenly there's no competition.
Yeah.
There's nobody else. It's got to be Eben.
Again, Scott Barrett, fair play to him, not taking anything away from him. I think he's fantastic in his position and in the field and as a leader and as a captain. But if I had the choice between him or Eben, I go Eben every day.
Yeah, absolutely. No brainer.
Okay.
Front row, I went with 2 Bok props. I've got Frans Malherbe at tight head. Again, really is there competition for him at tight head? I don't think so. And then another player, I think, who's thrown his hat in the ring for World Player of the Year nomination is Oxenche.
Yeah.
Ox is the man. He's just the man. So you can't look beyond. I mean, there's an argument for an Angus Bell, which I think from an Australian point of view, that's one of the players I'll get excited about. He's been really, really good.
He's come through the last couple of years. I mean, he's still so young.
Yeah, and great with ball in hand, around the loose, strong scrummager. But that Bok pack just dominated everyone. And
Tupo, I think, as well, is always going to be... He's going to get his name in the hat, but just because he's so powerful, he's so strong. And as a scrummager, he's, if they were against each other, him and Ox, it'd be an interesting competition, but I think still Ox would...
It'll be an interesting one. Taniela Tupo, there's one thing that bugs me about him, is he always pulls a hammy or pulls a calf. He always gets injured. Every single game.
He got injured in the last game.
He gets injured
in the first minute, and then by 12, 13, 14 minutes in, he's scrumming people and pushing them back. So it's, he's plagued by injuries, and it's unfortunate, but he's still a tank.
No, he's a tank. He's a tank. Another worthy mention at tight end, I think, is Tyrell Lomax.
Yeah.
He was solid. I never rated him, but he really stepped up this year. I think the All Blacks missed the Groot. I see he's back for the tour.
Yeah.
But, I mean, those are all honourable mentions. I think Ox and France.
The Groot and Angus Bell, very similar to me in that they young, dynamic, enthusiastic, but again, massive engines on both of them.
Yeah.
And also with ball in hand, when they're shipping it out, then they're tough to stop.
Yeah.
They've got that kind of doggedness about them.
Yeah. Hooker, again, is another interesting one because I didn't go for a Springbok, and we've got two of the best hookers in the world, in Bongi and Malcolm Marx.
Yeah.
Every time Malcolm comes onto the field, he makes an impact. You can feel it. When the bomb squad comes on, between him, Vince Koch and Kwagga Smith, the energy that they bring in that second half has often won us the game. And we saw it against the All Blacks at Ellis Park. But I went with Cody Taylor, just because Mr. Consistent. I think apart from Ardie Sevilla, he's like the one All Black that you just know you're going to get a performance out of him. And he's been really, really good, and I think he deserves his place.
From a consistency perspective, you can't go wrong. Like, he is amazing, as you say. And again, this is not me being biased. They're both going to be amazing in any team that they're in. But if I was in the schoolyard having to pick, and we're playing 15 on 15, and I'm one of the captains, and it's like, and it comes down to those two, I'm going to go with Malcolm.
Okay.
Every time. Just because I love his style of play. He comes on, he's got so much physicality, but at the breakdowns, he offers you so much as well.
True.
Which I don't think Cody gives you as much of. Like, he wouldn't turn over as many. And then, the line out more, try at the back, he's, again, stand out from that perspective. So you're always going to get a try or two with Malcolm on the field, one would hope. And so for those reasons, I would go Malcolm over Cody. But Cody's outstanding.
Cool. Okay, so that's our team of the tournament. If we had to swap out the box for other players from Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, if we picked a box versus the rest. So right wing we had Cheslin Colby. If it wasn't Cheslin and you had to pick someone to play against him, who would you pick?
I think Callaway was another, like Tom Wright, who tried to pull the Aussie team along with him. Every time he's got the ball in hand, he tries to do something with it. That's exciting. But again, those players you just talked about, Mark Talea, Sivu Reese, every time they got the ball, again, I think I would pick Sivu over Mark Talea.
Yeah.
But they're going to give you tries. Right?
They are, but I've got a proposition for you.
Mm-hmm.
You move Will Jordan to the wing and pick Tom Wright at fullback. That's my move.
I'm happy with that.
You down with that?
Yeah. I mean, because
Jordan Plus does play wing.
Yeah.
I know he prefers fullback, but Tom Wright's been awesome.
Yeah.
So
and Tom Wright over Damian McKenzie at fullback,
absolutely,
or Bowden Barrett.
No, I pick him ahead of both of them.
Okay.
He's been good, and we haven't picked any Aussies thus far. So let's throw one in there. Tom Wright at fullback with Will Jordan on the right wing and Caleb Clark on the left.
Exciting.
Okay, and then centers. We just spoke about Chocobares and Sinti, Geordie Barrett, Rico Ioane, Peter Feta. I don't know. The Aussie centers didn't impress me all that much.
No, but I'd chuck in the Argentinian 12.
Yeah. Chocobares.
So I'd chuck in Chocobares and probably Geordie Barrett alongside him.
Okay.
Because Geordie's great across the board, but he also gives you that kicking capability. And in the dying seconds, if you've got a 55 meter on the angle that you need someone to come in and slot it, he can do that for you as well. So I think he gives just another layer with that. But his offloading is amazing. His kicking game is amazing. He puts people into, his vision is amazing. So I think the two of them together would play really, really well together. Okay,
so you're moving Chocobares to 13 and playing Geordie at 12?
I think so. I think Chocobares coming off a Geordie Barrett would be exciting.
Okay. I mean, I'm down with that. I'd still I'd stick with a combo. Like we had Jesse and Damien, I'd go Chocobares and Sinti.
Okay.
But fair play. Geordie's good. Geordie and Chocobares at outside. And then fly off, we had Pollard. So if it wasn't Pollard, it's not going to be D-Mac.
No.
It's not going to be Lolesio, who, I don't know, hasn't done anything for me at fly off. So it's got to be either Santiago Carreras or Albaroz.
And again, if we're switching people up like we did with Will Jordan, I'd still go with Bowden Barrett at 10.
Okay, interesting. He only played one test there, though.
Well, fine, but again,
But we know what he can do.
At 10, again, with that backline coming through, his brother at 12, Carreras. No, that's not his name.
Choco bars.
I keep saying this.
Chocolate bars.
Chocolate bars. So he's got his brother at 12, Choco bars at 13, Will Jordan on wing. Like, that whole team all of a sudden is dynamic across the park, and you've got him as the general running it, I think.
Okay.
I'd take him as 10.
Okay, Bodie at 10, 9. You argued me out of going for Ratema when we did the initial selection, so I would assume Ratema makes the cut now.
I think I like a 9-10 combo from a particular team, just because they'll probably play, even though in this particular instance they haven't. I think Cortez, Ratema, and Bodie Barrett as a 9-10 combo would be an exciting match.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, 7, we had Peter Steph Toy. I think if I've got to pick another flank with Wallace Satiti and Ardi at 8, it'll either be Pablo Matera or Fraser McWright.
So I was going to go Fraser McWright.
Yes, I'm also leaning towards him.
Yeah, so Pablo Matera again.
Bit of a hothead.
Like really, really good with ball in hand and exciting to watch, but you're always concerned something's going to happen, that you're going to end up with 14, men either for 10 or 20 minutes. And so Fraser McWright is the total opposite. He's really good, solid, fights for everything. He's dogged, but he's Mr. Consistent as well. So I think I'd go Fraser.
Yeah, I'm happy. He's awesome. Like I say, only 2 things right on the Aussie team. It's Fraser Mack and Tom. That's it. The 2 right things. At lock, we had Ruan Orkia and Yebenetsebe. So now we've got to pick 2 other locks.
Yeah.
Anybody stand out?
I think Barrett, again.
Scotty Barrett, yeah.
Because of what he gives you. And not only from a consistency, but from a leadership perspective. And I think from what we've discussed so far, I think I'd make him captain of this particular team as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. At 5, I would probably go with Tupu Vai next to him. Again, go for a combo. For me, nobody else apart from the Springbok locks really stood out, but them as a combo. And then Sam Darry is coming through, but he hasn't really played that much.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on lock? It's difficult. Nobody really stands out.
No one really stood out exceptionally well. Yeah, I'd go with that.
Okay, and then in the front row, we had the props, Oxen Chair, Frans Mulherbe. I would probably go with Angus Bell and Tyrell Lomax. There's an argument for Gajo at Lucid, but the Argentinian scrum got dismantled in the last game.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning towards Angus Bell and who did I say? Tyrell Lomax.
Yeah, and again, the only other sort of switch out maybe is to bring in Tupou into that, just because of the size and the kind of he's so good with ball in hand, and at the ruck with respect to turnovers, he is just so difficult to shift. Like the amount of times that he withstands a clear out to gain that turnover ball, for me, I would pick him over Angus Bell for that. So not only just what he can do up front in the scrum, but what he gives you in open play. I don't think Angus Bell gives you as much of that. There's not as much turnover, but I'm happy with your 2 selections.
Yeah, I'm gonna
veto.
I'm gonna veto you. You vetoed me on a couple. I think Lomax and Bell were the 2 standouts, and then hooker. I originally said Cody Taylor.
Yeah.
You said Marks. We're gonna stick with Cody.
Yeah, as a well, we're not picking South Africa.
No, that's what I'm saying. I can't remember who we picked. Did we stick with Cody? We went with Marks. We went with Marks.
I went with Marks, I think, but yeah, Cody Taylor would be the person.
The next best.
Yeah.